Well, Transformers 1 releases today as a much anticipated celebrity-led animated film which I won't be able to see for another month. Yeah, due to my registered disability of being from the UK, I'm not getting to see the film till October, so the comment section is going to be very fun this weekend. At least being English has some perks like, you know, cuisine, fashion, architecture. I'm really not making a good case here, am I? Anyway, I've spoken to a lot of people that got to go to the early screenings, and apparently it's really good, so I can't be too annoyed. And looking at it in trailers, I really like the Optimus design. And this figure we're looking at today, Studio Series Transformers 1 Optimus Prime, does a solid job recreating that look. If only it was a better figure. The sculpted detail and proportions on this figure are fantastic. He may be a little bulky compared to the screen model, but I think it works for the look. And the surface details are off the chain. There's all ridges and bumps and layers on the red section that look distinctly like armor compared to the rest of him, and then the grey sections go absolutely wild, drenched in soft contours and harsh divots of detail, especially on the thighs and crotch plate. The shins go equally berserk with the detail in a way I really enjoy. I really like the roundness of the design. It works for a young Optimus. And that being so prevalent in the shins is nice, since they are a feature and all, since they quite literally take up 45.8% of his total height. If animated was chins, then TF1 is legs. I've got to mention this head sculpt. I love this take on the Optimus head. I feel like it's the right way to add detail to an existing thing without teetering on being unrecognizable. But if anything was to stand out about how different this design is to other primes beyond the roundness and the legs, it'd have to be that big blue window strip. I mean, how often do we get a prime with a mono window? Huh, that's the second time animated's come up here. Yeah, that and TF1 definitely share some DNA. But yeah, I really enjoy the sculpt here. It really sticks out as a multi-referential but extremely fresh take on Prime, and I must say, I'm quite a fan. It's just a shame about those colours. Like, the red and the blue aren't bad. I think the dark and gloomy shades are meant as somehow references to how gleamy and shiny the bots in the film are, and I can appreciate some deeper tones, but the grey just does not do it for me. I know the yellowish tint of the grey is supposed to be screen accurate, and trust me, it looks way better in person than on camera, but it just makes the rest of the colours look so washed out without a stable, lively base for them. Like, this grey is the primary colour here, and it's the worst one. And the worst part is, they have a better grey on the figure. If they used this nice matte grey from the face on the rest of the body, I think it'd look much better. But either way, this is what we've got, and oh well. Otherwise, there isn't much in the way of colour here. The paint is well applied across the board, but that's only really present on the chest plate, head and shins. The colours here are just a shame. The figure could look so incredibly good, but the colours just bring it down. But don't worry, it only gets worse from here. So, accessories wise, this guy's pretty packed. First off, the smokestacks come detached from the figure, and you're gonna want to attach them to bulk out the shoulders. He also comes with this double gun that is far more relevant in vehicle mode. For now though, you can store it under the backpack, if you can get it to stay attached. By far his best accessory comes in the form of this hefty clear battle axe, which feels robust enough to not shatter thankfully. It has some nice detail and fills out the silhouette of the figure in an oddly satisfying way, and it very neatly stores on the back. And finally, you can lift up the chest plate to reveal a matrix with some very nice painting and sculpting. It tabs into the figure's hands for some mandatory matrix poses, but that's only if you can manage to move this guy into them, because the posing here is weird as shit. The head is on a ball joint that has great range but is mounted really far back, making any movement look really off. The shoulders move out from the torso, have some shoddy forward butterflies, and can rotate all the way around with a lot of clashy difficulty. There's bicep swivels, standard elbows, wrist swivels, a diaphragm swivel that is mounted really far back. The monoskirt can shift up to let you access the hip ball joints that can go out pretty far and forward and back pretty well. He's got thigh swivels, impressively deep knees, and some nice ankle pivots. Posing is good here, but it's just such a faff because of the way they've attempted to work in the transformation. It's also weirdly placed or clashy, and while nothing feels loose, man, this figure is not fun to play with, because nothing bloody tabs in. The chest plate doesn't tab in, the shoulder assemblies don't tab in, the backpack doesn't tab in, and you're working and moving all these floating bits past each other when there's no space or clearance because of the way the shoulders are mounted. And that's assuming you don't have one of the copies where the biceps will much rather rip in half than cooperate with the posing or transformation. And that transformation is so icky and doughy to get done. Parts hugely lack clearance, the hips and knees don't have any guiding lines to where they need to be, so you just end up bending and flexing them until the tabs line up. A problem that wouldn't be half as bad if the hips weren't ball jointed, since you could easily guide their angles that way. And then the arms have to weirdly angle around until you can fit them into place, which is so much more trouble than it should be. Not quite as much as plugging in the hands into their ports though. And then to finish the alt mode, you want to plug in the gun in the front, which is so tight a connection on mine that I had to remove it with pliers and sheet metal pushing the back tabs through from the other side. And I spent my first half half hour handling this thing, sanding those tabs down so it wouldn't kill my enjoyment of the figure. And when you get it all finished, you're left with this alt mode that I can't describe as anything more than okay. Sure, there are good parts. I really like the cab. The way it fits together is all very clean and enjoyable, and I like the design. I'm a big fan of the bulky truck bed and the lack of visible wheels, and it's overall a very interesting design for an Optimus truck. But the hands are obscenely visible, there's a huge gap in the truck bed, and the transformation to get here just does not seem worth it to me. There are a couple of things to talk about here. For one thing, if you don't like the look of the front guns, this doesn't look too incomplete without them, so if you want to throw them off a bridge, you can. Also, the axe stores in the back very cleanly. That is genuinely nice, but that's about the best I can say about this truck. It has some good features, but it's about 50-50 on the split of good looks and problems. Yeah, that sounds like me. I can't say I recommend this figure, it just has too many issues. If you're a display-only collector, then this thing will probably be great for you, and I'm aware that a lot of the problems here are due to the limitations of the deluxe price point, but still, they are problems. I think if you really want a version of this guy, you'll be better off getting the Takara Lidl version, but right now this figure just has some real issues holding it back. At least it wasn't 35 quid though.